The automotive world isn't exactly short of icons, but when it comes to motoring legends, not too many cars can rival Volkswagen's immortal Beetle. Perhaps I'm showing my age, but mention the word Volkswagen and it's a Beetle that comes to mind. Produced from the early 1950s until the late 1970s in South Africa, the Beetle provided affordable motoring to successive generations of South Africans. It certainly was my first car, and it was also the car I was taught how to drive in. By comparison, the so-called new Beetle, which arrived in the late 1990s, just did not have the same character and the same longevity as the original. Fast forward to 2012, and Volkswagen is trying to rekindle the Beetle magic with a brand new version. The intrinsic importance of the Beetle to the Volkswagen brand as a whole is at the core of its continued resurrection. In a world of instant gratification and disposable brands, the value of a nameplate that's now more than 7 decades old cannot be overestimated. Thus, the latest Beetle is supposed to remind us that Volkswagen has been building people's cars for a very long time, except that this third generation Beetle is neither affordable nor unassuming enough to carry its famous badge with any conviction. It might only have 2 doors, but the Beetle is by no means a small car. It's longer and wider than its immediate predecessor and positively huge compared to the original Beetle. The change in proportions means that the cab has been moved further back, which emphasizes the longer nose and the muscular haunches. The result is a Beetle that looks unexpectedly athletic. Adding further visual interest are the optional 18-inch wheels and a prominent rear wing reminiscent of the downforce-inducing whale tail made famous by Porsche's 911 Turbo. The bug-eyed headlights are as intrinsic a part of the latest Beetle's character as they were on the original design, and in the 21st century they get cleverly integrated LED daytime running lights. In overall terms, the design succeeds in paying homage to the original Beetle's basic silhouette, and yes, it does look more cohesive and more appealing, but one can't help but consider it a mere pastiche of the authentic item, an impression that continues inside the cabin. The third generation Beetle has an interior that's well packaged and modern, and is certainly light years ahead of the bare metal basics of the original. There's a lot of room here, good legroom both front and rear, but the headroom for rear passengers is still pretty much compromised, and these glossy surfaces are going to be prone to finger marks and scratches. The seats are sculpted for support and offer ample adjustment scope in all planes. Thus, finding the perfect driving position is easy, encouraging a close rapport between the car and its pilot. The interior treatment is pure 21st century Volkswagen rather than bespoke Beetle. The touchscreen display, the deep-set instrument binnacles and the flat-bottomed steering wheel are very much in the hot hatch league. And there's an overriding aura of quality that adds the heft and gravitas of a luxury machine to the Beetle equation. The 310-litre boot size is better than expected and can be extended by folding the rear seat flat. Disappointingly, the spare wheel is only a space saver. The modern Beetle gets an equally modern engine that's located at the front of the car, which proves that this is little more than a Golf in disguise. It's a 1.4-litre unit with both a turbocharger and a supercharger, which allows 118 kilowatts of maximum power and 214 newton-meters of torque. The gearbox is a 6-speed manual in this instance. While this Beetle is no slouch in dynamic terms, its more substantial appearance and its tactile robustness suggest a less than trim curb weight. It's an impression confirmed by VW's specification, which pegs the newcomer's curb mass at just short of 1,400 kilos. Relate that back to a power-to-weight ratio of 87 kilowatt per ton, and you realize why the Beetle feels brisk rather than truly fast, and why, at altitude at least, there is the slightest of hesitations between gear changes before the engine comes on song and momentum is resumed. Still, this Beetle provides a satisfyingly sporty driving experience that might not be true to the Beetle ethos, but is rewarding and involving in the modern motoring context. Driven with intent, there's an inherent poise and balance that suggests scope for even more power. With plenty of horses under the bonnet and a nice positive gear shift, this car feels more junior GTI than quirky Beetle. There's plenty of get up and go, and the mid-range tractability is particularly impressive. 0 to 100 time 8.3 seconds, top speed 208 kilometers an hour. Even the electromechanical steering provides a decent level of feedback, and the brakes have a good progressive bite that allows decent modulation before any ABS chatter is invoked. In short, the Beetle feels sorted, and it's a fun car to drive. That high-tech small-capacity engine also means that fun doesn't come at the expense of a hefty fuel bill. The VW folk claim a combined cycle fuel consumption figure of 6.6 litres per 100 kilometres and an open road stat of 5.3 litres per 100 kilometres. In many ways, this latest Beetle is a fine car. It marries distinctive, nostalgia-tinged styling to a designer interior and zesty dynamics. But while it's a much better effort than its most immediate predecessor, it just doesn't have the same innovation, charisma and originality as the first Beetle. A keen and clean twin-charged engine provides ample urge, and the snappy 6-speed box is a pleasure to use, ensuring that the Beetle feels sportier than expected. It looks good and the interior is classy and quality-driven too, but rear headroom remains compromised, and this latest Beetle still can't capture the spirit of the original.